everyone. Welcome back to TC 911 Beyond the Call. This is episode 5, and I am your host, Abbey Dudek, the communications coordinator at Tarrant County 911 District. And in this episode, I get the awesome joy of talking to Irving 911 Supervisor Anissa. Hello.
Hello.
How are you doing today?
I'm doing well. How are you?
I'm doing great. I actually like coming to the comm centers in the evening. So it's, what time is it? 6:21. And I was like, man, I need to come in the evening because I don't get to see a lot of people because I usually, business hours and during that time, but I'm flexible to interview all of the 911 headset heroes, whatever shift's going to work out best for them.
Oh, yes.
So I work for you. I'll go wherever I need to go, at what time I need to go, even 2 a.m. If it makes sense to come here at 2 a.m. because it'll maybe be quieter. Okay, all the doors and windows are shut. I did not say that out loud into the dispatch room. That's a bad word. That's a bad word. Never say, oh, it's quiet in here. They'll hang you upside down by your toes.
That is true.
What did you say?
Not the Q word.
Not the Q word. So, but sometimes it is better to come at certain times because it may not be as busy. So that's always good. So I am glad to be here. Thanks for even having me in here.
Thank you for
nice
being
little
here.
Office. Yeah, it's a nice little office. It oversees all of the dispatch centers consoles. So that's great. So Anissa, how long have you been at Irving 911?
I have been here. I just celebrated on June 27th, 12 years with the Irving Police Department.
All right. Do you get anything fun?
Not till 15.
Oh, what do you get at 15?
So they give you a choice between a pin or a keychain, a watch.
A Maserati.
I wish.
That would be awesome. Oh my gosh.
Yeah, so every 5 years you get something.
Okay, that's cool.
And they have your little studs in them. Your little shinies.
like how many years you've put in?
Yes.
Oh, kind of like what the officers sometimes have stars or how many years or whatever they bars.
They're bars, yes.
Yeah, bars. Sorry. Okay, that's cool. That's all right.
Yes.
And then you recently had a birthday too.
I recently celebrated my birthday. Yes.
So you started this job and then it was like a birthday gift to you?
I guess so. Yes. And they've had me here long enough. I told them, I usually stay somewhere just 5 years and then I move on. And here I am 12 years later.
As a supervisor?
As a supervisor, yes. This was didn't think this is where I would be. I came in as a call taker back in 2011 and thought that's what I was going to do. And within 6 months, I was training for a dispatcher position and...
Oh, that's right. So folks at home, and if you listen to episode 1, when we talked to another supervisor from Irving, Tracy, she talked about how when you start at Irving, they're a little bit different from other agencies in our district. You start as a call taker.
Yes.
And then you apply to be a dispatcher, police
Correct.
dispatcher. Mm-hmm. So have to kind of rehash everybody, and what your guys' position, because all agencies are different. So let's start also before we get into your the growth that you've had here professionally. So you applied for a 911 dispatcher position. Why? What was going on?
So
in a good way, why?
In a good way, yes. So when I was very young, 9 years old, I told my father, I want to be a police officer. My dad retired from Irving Police Department.
Oh, wow. I didn't know that.
Yes. So my dad was a police officer here, and I told him that's what I want to do, and I was a daddy's girl. And he told me no. And so I was trying to figure out, what am I going to do with my life? What am I going to do? And my cousin had her 2 kids, and they were both preemies. So I said, fine, I'm going to work in the neonatal unit. So, along went my life, 9-year-old little girl. And by the time I made it to college, I found my children's father. And once I had the boys, I realized my life had to be put on hold because I had children at that point. When my dad was getting ready to retire from the Irving Police Department, he told me, hey, he's like, there's a position open, in dispatch. Why don't you try that? I said, okay, I'm trying to go for nursing here, but you know what, I'll try that. And as soon as I started working here, I knew this was what I was supposed to do. I've always wanted to help people in whichever aspect, whether it be in the emergency room or, here on the phones. It was something that gave me peace, something that allowed me to give back to the community. And with the girls here sending my dad home every single day, safe and sound, he was, knock on wood, he was never injured on the duty or on the job. I realized this is what I wanted to do. And that's how my journey began here with the Irving Police Department.
Oh my gosh, that's so awesome. I didn't know. Well, shout out to your dad. Thank you, sir, for your years of service. How long did he serve?
So he was here for 29 years and 11 months.
Oh my gosh.
Yes. So he left a month early of 30 years because his payout for his sick time was about to change.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. So there was some, I guess, technicalities or whatever the word is, of why he left a month early. So he got 100% of his sick pay.
So you started in Irving in 2011.
Yes.
Okay. And now you had told me prior to our recording that you only stay at jobs how long?
5 years.
And we are on year 12.
Year 12, yes.
Wow. Okay. So it's a good handshake relationship here.
Yes, it is. And I think, like I said, this is my calling. I knew very quickly and very early on this was something I wanted to do. And I found, and because of, them, the girls bringing my dad home back to me every single day, that's what I wanted to give back to somebody. I wanted, to send these fathers, boyfriends, husbands, and mothers, wives, and sisters, or aunts. I wanted to send everybody home safe. And that's what I wanted to do. I just wanted to give back. And whether it be back to the citizens of Irving or just to get our officers home safely, that was my ultimate goal.
So you started as we talked about, when you start at Irving, you start as a call taker. And how long? Yeah, you said here 6 months, right? You were doing it 6 months, and then you were like, I'm going to apply to be on the radio.
Yes. So I started right at the end of June. So early July, I started my training. And by December, we had someone who dropped out of training for Dispatch 2, which is our dispatchers. And I went ahead and just said, hey, can I go ahead and do that? And our manager at the time said, it's a bidding process kind of thing. So we have to ask everyone else before you. Okay. And kept my fingers crossed. And within a week or two, she's like, okay, you'll go into training here shortly. So by January, I went into training to be a dispatcher. And it was a lot of fun. A little stressful, but it was a lot of fun. Made my mistakes over the radio, and
we all have done that.
Oh, yes.
We talked about that in episode 1 with Tracy about open mics.
Oh, yes. So mine was, I'm looking at the call sheet, and it was a accident blocking the roadway, the North Service Road of 114, and we have a road called Cistercian.
Say what now?
Cistercian.
Cistercian. Yeah.
So that's not what came out of my mouth. I looked at my my trainer, and I said, so that's Cistercian, right? And she said, yes. I said, okay. So
now, before you say it, is it clean for this podcast?
It is.
Okay.
It is. So I key up on the radio, and I sit there and said, I'll show you en route to the accident blocking the roadway at North Service Road of 114 and Cistercian.
Oh, okay.
Not the same.
Yeah. I mean, I'm sure everyone was like, wait, what did she just say?
Yes. So, we get messages.
MDTs went crazy.
Yep, they did.
MDTs,
message after message.
So MDTs, for you folks at home, are, what is it? What does it stand for? Message something. Basically, it's like instant messenger for... that's the best way I can put it to the public to understand, is that the officers can message dispatch. And they can also send messages to each other. They do this when they're stopped, when they're at calls, or if they are, parked or whatever, and they might be doing report writing or something. They can ask questions to the dispatcher. Hey, what time did this happen? What time? And it just keeps radio traffic down if it's not nothing that's not an emergency or a priority or something like that. But during these kind of situations, it turns into a very realistic situation of like, wow, everyone just heard that.
Yes, everyone.
When you think they're not paying attention, they're paying attention.
That was when everyone was paying attention at the time, because I didn't tone anybody. It was cesarean. So all the messages that came through, it's is it in the C-section or where,
Oh my gosh.
Yes. And it just kept coming, and they wouldn't stop. And so my trainer took over, and, we had a good laugh, and a few officers came in, and that worked. So it's the north side of our town. A few of those officers came in and just start laughing, and I'm just like, stop.
Just stuff like that's just hilarious, because you can't. And every 911 first responder is guaranteed going to have a story like that where they've keyed up and done something. I shared mine on season 1 when I was a dispatcher, every single one. So if you know a 911 headset hero, or if you see one, just ask me, like, what's the funniest thing that you've keyed up on the radio for? And they will have something for you.
Yes, they will.
You know, and at the time, I mean, you were in training, so your emotions were what, on the floor at that time?
Pretty much, yes. Pretty much. I think I was very embarrassed, and you know, a lot of the guys so I was on the on A days, and A days is the shift that it's the older guys. So these are the guys that work with my
experienced guys. I got you.
So these are the guys that worked with my dad. So they knew who I was. They knew, you know, who my father was. So of course they're giving me
that could be bad too.
Yes. So they're giving me a hard time, and I'm just like, thanks, guys. Like, time to go home now.
You're like, I'm totally rethinking this decision.
It's like, I'm going home. Bye.
Oh my goodness. Oh, that's. So how long were you in training? How long does it take to train? For you, how long was it to do the radio? Because I know everyone trains differently.
Correct.
Everybody learns differently.
At the time, back, you know, when I started, it was only 12 weeks of training.
Oh, okay.
So I did my 12 weeks, and I was cut loose out of training. You know, they felt comfortable enough to let me be done with training, and that's how my training went. Now our training for dispatchers is 16 to 18 weeks.
Oh, wow. Mm-hmm. Is that with everybody comes from call taker or like coming in?
So the 16
with experience, I guess.
So 16 to 18 weeks is going to be someone who's brand new. Okay. So right from call taking, whenever they're done and we have trainers available, we'll go ahead and put them through their phase 2 of training for dispatch. Now, if they do have experience, what we try and do is we do a fast-paced training for them, where we'll do all 3, radio and phone and NCIC all at the same time.
Oh, wow.
Yes.
So the dispatch portion of it, talking on the radio to the men, women in blue, you also are doing, you're running everybody and doing NCIC stuff, or is there someone else that does that?
So we have a separate radio channel that just does NCIC. Okay. So they'll switch over from their main channel over to NCIC.
Okay. That's how a lot of agencies will do it. They'll have separate. I just was curious because I never, you know, I almost experienced it here. Well, I don't know if you knew that.
No.
Yeah. So those that listen to episode 1, but we have to educate Anissa in case she hasn't listened to episode 1, which this is all pre-recorded, so it's not even out yet. So I applied here when I applied for North Hills, but North Hills won.
Okay.
And Tracy was going to bring me on as a dispatcher 2.
Okay.
Because I had started dispatching. I started my dispatching career in 2008.
Okay.
And so, yeah. So she still has my critical test, which is, I did phenomenal.
Well, and you passed, yes.
I passed. So anyway, but yeah, so that was, I knew the process a little bit because of going through it and everything. It's just that one beat the other one in timing. Yeah. So, but yeah, dispatcher 2, I would have done it. Who knows where I would have been?
Exactly. You could have been right here.
I could be the manager.
Actually, yes, you could have been the manager.
I could have been the manager, but you know what? I'm doing what I'm doing, and I love it because I can see all at once.
Everyone, yes.
Everyone in the whole county. So that's great. So, okay, so you're dispatcher 2 now. Now, do you ever go back? When you're dispatcher 2, do you ever have to go and sit on the phones?
Yes. So what we usually try and do is 4 hours on the radio, and whoever's on the radio will come off, and whoever's been on the phones will go on to radios. Since we work 12-hour shifts, we try and rotate everyone out, like I was saying, every 4 hours. That way, everyone gets a chance. And if anyone needs to take a break from, dispatching, they can go ahead and go back out onto the floor. And then we'll get whoever's in the call-taking position to go onto the radios and dispatch. So that way, also, the guys and girls out in the field don't get tired of hearing the same voice, and it's not a bad thing.
Who doesn't want to hear your awesome voice?
Exactly. It's like, you want to listen to me all day, don't you?
Yeah, come on. It's like a radio. It's like a radio DJ. You have your particular ones that you're just like, I really like the sound of their voice in the morning when I listen to their radio show, or when they dispatch me to calls.
Yes, and that is very true. You do have some officers who prefer certain people on the radio, and it also, it helps with everyone keeping their skills up to date, as long, switching them out on the radio. And same thing with NCIC. That, we usually try and keep someone there just for 4 hours. That way someone else can go and, keep their skills up. And if you don't do it, you're going to lose it, because that's a lot of information on NCIC.
Yeah. Like I'll be at the district for 7 years this November. So yeah, that I would not.
Oh yeah. Even coming here into the office, not doing NCIC, I'm like, I'll let you up for a break, but I'm not doing anything because I don't remember. Yeah. There's just a lot.
And if y'all at home are like, oh, I forgot what episode they were when they're talking about NCIC. It's like the national database for like it was the best way of putting it. Like, it's a national database to, if you run someone and they're wanted or whatnot, all their stuff will pull up, all their aliases, everything like that.
And even stolen articles, stolen vehicles, missing persons, everything is going to be in there. Not just, their histories as well if we're running somebody.
Yeah.
So it's got a lot of information in that database.
And then I still, even though it's been almost 7 years, something about aliases still gives me like PTSD. Because aliases, I mean, you have to go, and there's so many of them, and you're like,
and how is it spelled?
How is it spelled? And you're like, oh gosh, because you can't mess it up. And dispatch, these dispatchers have so much responsibility on them, because if an officer is out on someone and they want to run them, and there happens to be maybe a warrant hit or a stolen article hit with descriptors of the person that did it or something, you have to make sure you read all of that, And so these fabulous dispatchers, they do a lot of that stuff. They look up the identifiers, and I love sharing this kind of stuff for the people, the public, to understand, like, y'all just don't answer 911 calls and just dispatch police officers. There's so much. You guys are the hub. Like, it's all with you guys, So, because you don't want to be like, oh, yeah, that should be him,
right,
or
correct.
her, or
and
them.
We do have, and it's been a while. I haven't seen the names in a while, but we had a set of twins. Who would use each other's information. I don't think they were identical twins, but they had very similar features, height, weight. So it was very hard.
Scars, marks, and tattoos.
Exactly. And so it's like, I'm going to use my brother's information. And it's like, oh, look, guess what? You're going to jail because brother has...
Oh, that totally
warrants.
Backfired.
Yes, it does. And so then they'll get in, they'll get down to the jail, they get their fingerprints ran, and it's like, okay, well, you're not this person. Who are you? And then it pretty much, and then we have to run their information, and it's like, hey, now you have warrants too, and let your brother know.
Yeah, next time you guys are having your next family dinner, you guys
let him know. He's wanted
compare
too.
warrants. How
Yes.
much are yours?
So, and that's the other thing, like you said, we have to go ahead and put all those identifiers in there. We have to look all that information up, and it's hard. And so we can look up, driver's license information as well. But, when was the last time you took your picture for your driver's license?
It was actually like a few weeks ago.
Oh, geez.
No, unknowingly. So let's just kind of park off the off ramp here, because I don't like getting pictures. And this is funny coming from me. When I come into these dispatch centers, I start snapping photos away, and everybody's like, dang it, Abby. But I don't like that either.
Right.
Especially it's going to be permanently on my driver's license.
Yes.
So I go into the driver's license because I had moved, and I was like, oh, I've been living in this house for like 5 months. I should probably change the address on my driver's license so I can, vote in the proper area.
Correct.
Go vote, go register. And so I went to the driver's license facility. First off, I hadn't been inside of a driver's license facility since I moved to Texas in June of 2012.
Wow.
So I didn't know that they changed it where you have to like make an appointment. You can't just walk in anymore.
And that changed during COVID, though.
Oh, did it?
Yes,
okay.
Because I got married during COVID. And so when I went to change all my information, I had to make an appointment with the Social Security office and for my driver's license. And they're like, and so I went to out in Decatur because I could get it done within like a week.
Oh, okay.
And through Denton, it was months.
So folks, this is help me help you. You have to make an appointment. No, I don't care what driver's license facility it is, even if it's way out in the boonies and it's just an isolated thing. It's all ran by the same people. You have to get online. You have to make an appointment. And if you're in the Metroplex, like Arlington, Fort Worth, Dallas, plan on that appointment being a month out.
Oh, yes.
Because mine was like, I went in there and I was like, wait, what is all this? What's all this shindig going on here? And they're like, you have to have an appointment. You can't just walk in. I'm like, I just need to change my address. They're like, again, you have to have an appointment. You can't just walk in. I was like, okay. And I respect the men and women at the driver's license facility. That's a tough job.
Oh, yes.
It really is. And I did it for one summer as a student work program in Illinois. And I can understand. Like, people bring so much like fraudulent documents in there.
I'm sure they do.
Like, I feel bad. And they have to be stern because, you're giving them like permission to be on the road,
Yes.
So we can't do that. Anyway, so I made the appointment, which was a month out. And then I finally show up and I'm like, all right, I'm so excited. I'm going to get my address changed. I can't wait to re-register to vote and be in the right area and everything. And I go in there. Guy was super nice. He's like, oh, just do an address change. I go, yeah. And back in the day when I remember that stuff, you had to bring like 2 forms of address, like a water bill and all that stuff. And I brought everything. I wanted to be over prepared. He's like, yep, I just need your copy of your birth certificate or your passport. And I'm like, you don't need any of my address stuff? And he's like, no. And I'm like, well, I could just be telling you an address. Like, okay.
Right.
I mean, it really is my address, But he goes, do you want to go ahead and renew your driver's license today? And I was like, what? Because on the expiration, it doesn't expire until 2025, January 2025. And I was like, I still got some time. He's like, no, you can do it now and you don't have to come back in here for another 8 years. Well, that sold me.
Yes.
And I was like, well, that's great because obviously I am not good at making these appointments. Living in the Fort Worth area, it was very, tough to get in there quickly. And I was like, oh, yeah, sure. Didn't even think about it because I thought they could just use the same picture.
Correct.
But I'm kind of didn't think that through. Like, hello, I've changed in 12 years.
Right.
Or 11 years. And he's like, all right. And I had my glasses on. I had a ball cap on. And he's like, all right, remove your glasses and your ball cap and stand against the thing. And I was like, oh, and I looked at him, I was like, oh, really? And he's like, yeah, we got to get you a new picture. I'm like,
no, you
man,
don't.
this is like some sort of karma coming back at me right now. Like I did something and I deserve this. And so I stepped back, took the picture, and I look so old in my picture.
No.
It's horrible. I conveniently didn't bring it up here with me, so I can't show you, sadly enough. But yeah, so I had to get so I've had my driver's license picture just recently taken.
Done, yeah. So, I mean, like we're saying, we can look that information up and it's hard when.
Wait, so you can look at my picture?
Yes. Now,
but
it has
if
to
an
be
officer initiated stuff.
Correct. I can't do it just because I want to.
I will refrain from speeding out of here just so you can see my driver's license. Unit number, Dudek's leaving in the 911 vehicle.
Yes.
I want to see what your driver's license looks like.
Pull her over. Thank you.
Have a nice day. That's fun. So yeah, going back, you guys, go and do a lot of the behind the scenes work of, and I like how you mentioned too, you also enter this information, entering warrants, entering all that stuff.
Yes.
That stuff has to go somewhere.
Yeah, but it starts somewhere. So whether it's, entered in Oklahoma, whether it's entered here in Texas, each individual agency has their person who does the entries. Some smaller agencies rely on the county. Mm-hmm. We here in Irving, we go ahead and do our own entries. And, whenever it's, whether it be a stolen vehicle, whether we get the hit, the officer gets the hit, we have to call the other agency to confirm on those hits. And it's, whether we send a message to the other agency or give them a phone call like, hey, we just pulled this vehicle over, it was occupied, this amount of times, and they'll just let us know, yes, it's a good stolen, and they'll send us a message back letting us know that it's been confirmed.
And it's great in this career too. I mean, the technology now is so quick than what it was even just, 15, 20 years ago, because you guys can communicate with anyone in the United States very quickly with kind of an internal messaging system. And that's fantastic. And I love also, one of my favorite things when I was a dispatcher was getting the messages of almost like a, hey, heads up, this is going on, or something. There was always these very important messages if they felt like someone might be entering your area that is wanted or extremely dangerous or something like that. Everyone gets some because you can put them in by zip code, region, or whatever. Mm-hmm. I think it's regions, right?
Yeah, it's region.
Okay, I remembered that. I was like, wait, is it zip code? I can't remember. I was thinking of when I do billboard advertising. That's by zip codes. But you can do it by region, and so it can go exactly where it needs to go,
yes.
And doesn't go where obviously it's not going to make sense.
Correct. And then we'll send it, like when we receive it here at Irving, we'll send it to whatever section it pertains to, whether it's auto theft stuff, we'll send those to our guys in auto theft. If it's wanted person, we'll send those to the unit. That way they can keep their eyes open and say, okay, well, they have known acquaintances here within Irving, and they may be here. So then they'll do their part and what they need to do to.
Yeah, that's awesome. I love reminiscing that stuff because it kind of comes in like a flood of stuff, and then I still remember. Nope, I'm done. Nope, I'm done. Stick a fork in me.
Yes, we're done.
So you were dispatching. So you're dispatcher 2, and then how long was it before you're like, I'm ready to step up and be a supervisor.
So that didn't happen till year 7 for me. But before that, you had to be there's other steps between there.
Okay.
So at year 2, after I was fully trained, I became a training officer.
Okay.
That was probably one of my favorite thing to do here was train people in what I love to do. I took a lot of pride in my training, and I knew that everyone trained differently. So like a teacher, you have to know, how do your people learn? What's going to make sense to them? How is it going to make sense to them? So that was what I enjoyed doing, was training. So at year 6, I applied to be a senior dispatcher. So our senior dispatchers are the level before a supervisor. They can run the floor, they can work in the office. The only thing they cannot do is discipline. At year 7, I applied to be a supervisor and did not make it through the first time. It took one of yours leaving, getting a position at your...
Are you talking about the Chantel?
The Chantel.
It's not just Chantel. It's the Chantel.
It's the Chantel.
Yes.
So when she ended up leaving Irving.
Wait, what year was that? That was 2019?
19, I think, yes.
Okay, yeah.
So once the Chantel left.
Good job.
Yes, thank you, Chantel. I was called into the office, and I had just been interviewed maybe 2-3 weeks before, and I was offered the position for supervisor, and I took it willingly. I do enjoy...
I just first like to share everybody that we're in the dispatch supervisor office like we had said in the beginning. So I have this radio right next to me, which is kind of fun. I like to give it the ambiance. So I'm leaving it in.
That's
I don't think we're hearing anything that the public can hear, right?
No.
Okay, so we're good. All right, so I'm leaving it. So because of Chantel leaving, you got the supervisor job. I feel like you should send her like a fruit basket or
oh yes, I should
sparkling Welch's grape juice or something like that.
That sounds good.
Or just a card saying, "Hey, I know it's been 5 years, but I wanted to send you this card because I
tell you thank you.
Abby reminded me, and also I know that you're now known as the Chantel." So there, and she'll appreciate that too. It always makes her laugh. Well, that's great. So were you like, oh my gosh, because that probably wasn't even expected.
It wasn't. It was not. And I just remember sitting in a D3 meeting when she...
What's a D3 meeting?
So our senior dispatchers, we had not monthly meetings, maybe quarterly meetings. And so we're sitting in this meeting and Chantel's there and she never showed up to these meetings. Well, she didn't have to. It wasn't required that she be there, but she was there at this meeting. And so we're sitting there with our manager at the time, and the 6 of us are sitting there. And the Chantel is sitting at the head of the table, and I'm sitting here, why is she here?
What's going on?
And all of a sudden, because I was her D3 on her shift, so she was my supervisor at the time, and I had no clue it was coming. It was completely left field. And all of a sudden she starts talking, and I start crying because I knew it was coming. I knew what she was going to tell us.
You knew she was going to leave?
I knew, just based on some of the words that some of the things she was saying.
Yeah, I could see that. I can usually tell when she's getting ready to discipline me. I'm just kidding. I'm totally just kidding. Chantel, I'm totally kidding. No, but you can usually tell in anybody when there's the way that, the words they're using
correct,
and stuff.
Like, I've been here for this amount of time, and
you're saying your goodbyes.
She was saying her goodbyes, and so here I am, just crying in the meeting, and then she finally says it, and so there I am, like boo-hooing in this.
And then boo-hooing stopped because then...
Yes. So then, I give her, at the end of the meeting, I give her a hug, and, she said a few words to me, and I said, okay. And I start walking this way so I can go home because it was the end of my day. And that's when I got called into the office, and I was offered my current position as a communication supervisor.
Yeah, that's exciting. Yes. What an exciting time. What an emotional roller coaster.
Oh, yes. All for one day. All in within like 45 minutes.
Not only did you work your shift and go through whatever emotions you have and the stressfulness that you go through with your job, then you have to say goodbye to the Chantel.
Yes.
Then they come back and get you with some really good news of, we're going to make you a supervisor.
Yes.
And then you're just like, I don't know how to act right now.
Do I cry? Do I,
do I jump up?
For joy?
Do I high five someone? Do I spike something? What happens?
Yes. So, yes, but there was, we had our moments, between the Chantel and I. And I do miss her. I do miss her.
I have to say that, I guess, thank you. And
or should I say thank you?
Yeah, thank you. Yeah, it should be the other way around. And because Tracy gave us a hard time once we plugged two, and I think during her episode too, she talked about, well, we could always, steal you back. And I'm like, I don't think I've ever heard of anybody leaving the district to head back. Which could happen. You never know.
It could happen. But I think even for, not the Chantel, for the other one that was taken, I think she's got the hours she needs for her brand new baby.
Yeah. And it's plus too, it's like you start another page in your life of new career opportunities and things like that. And it does open a lot of different doors with education and skill, because you're not, you actually are on the outside of stuff, and you're teaching it, or you're doing the PR things with it and whatnot. I'm just happy that I'm finally doing something that I went to school for. Now I finally feel like I'm going to get my money's worth. Good Lord. Oh my God, I'm actually doing what I went to school. But that's, but Chantel she's great to work with. She's a good leader, and we definitely scored a good one there. So that was.
And she taught me a lot in the 6 months that I had her before she decided to leave. She taught me a lot in 6 months. Yes.
She's taught me so much. Like I have to have like a book. I always tell her I channeled my inner Chantel of maybe how I handled something or whatever. But it's great in this industry too, because no matter where someone goes, like, so everyone always, in this industry, someone always starts like in a 911 comm center. Majority of the time. And no matter where everyone ends up and going and moving, you still stay somewhat connected to them, especially if they're still in the niche, if you will.
Right.
Like they're still, like, we're not dispatchers or first responders. We give you guys that title. I'm your cheerleader, we're your tech support, we're your training people, we're there to help you all out and everything, but we're still around. We're just always around. So, but you have those great memories, and I think it's nice too to see the person grow.
Oh yes.
Because she's grown at our building business, whatever you want to call it, organization.
Yes.
Organization, and I think that's just great to see, and right back to you, she gets to see you grow as a supervisor also. So I didn't know that. Oh, I love learning new things. That's exciting. I'll go to work tomorrow and tell her that you're going to send her a fruit basket.
She can send me an email and she'd be like, I'm still waiting.
I really like these fruits. Where are they at?
Where are they?
What's the one place they dip them in chocolate?
Edible arrangements.
Oh, those are good.
So there's that place, and then there's Sherry's Berries.
Sherry's Berries.
I think it's Sherry's Berries.
That sounds fun. I don't know if I've heard of that. I'm not a big fruit deliverer person.
I deliver everything. It takes the stress out of having to go somewhere and
because
buy
your
something.
hours are, pretty wide and everything, so it's probably hard to when you get out of here, you just want to go home and rest. It's not like you're like, let me go to the store
and go shopping and do this
and cut some berries up and put them on huge toothpicks and make some sort of arrangement.
Oh yes, dip them in chocolate. And
you should try that though and see. What's that? The Nailed It. Where
yes.
people try to make stuff that's
it's like nailed it at 7 a.m.
Nailed it, and it's just literally one strawberry on a tiny toothpick on a huge foam block and a flower, or maybe like a gnome statue or something. I don't know, something fun like that. Well, that's great. I love hearing this. I did not know that. I've known you for quite some time and everything, and I guess I just wasn't asking the right questions, but that's amazing. So here you are as supervisor, and what's some of your favorite things about being in this role?
So some of my favorite things would be just having, so I have my 9 people that I supervise, just having their backs and just being, I guess, essentially being mom to them, getting to know, and my thing is I like to know about every single person on my shift, because everyone's different. You know, I have some people on my shift who are brand new 21-year-olds, and I have some other people on my shift who are...
There's a board behind me with their names and ages or something back there. I'm going to turn around.
Not the ages, just the names.
Oh.
So this bit, I think I am the oldest one on my shift.
Okay. These are nice little nameplates. So they have a board in their office with all the nameplates, and this is just for this shift?
So... the top left corner, the top left quadrant is going to be A days, and the right is going to be A nights, and then the bottom quadrants.
Oh, I see.
Yeah, we've got B shift.
So that's great. So I like it that you try to have a nice personal connection with your dispatchers, to know them not only professionally through 911, but then also personally.
Yes.
Because that's tough. They could be going through something personal, and then they're handling everybody else's personal situations.
Yes, and so in the 12 years that I've been here, I've had lots of different supervisors and I've had a few different managers and deputy chiefs as well. And I've taken bits and pieces of what I've enjoyed and liked about those people, and, you know, my personality as well, just made myself who I want to be and who I would have liked my supervisors to be.
Sure. I think that's a really good way of putting it. You know, I don't think that there's ever, you know, we always say, when I worked at this job, I had a horrible manager, I had a horrible supervisor, I had a really good one, and talking about all jobs in general. I don't think there is such thing as anybody horrible, because if you learn something from everyone, they're all good. It's just based on how you're going to take
perceive
that.
it.
Yeah, how you're going to take that. You know, that I always say, well, I had a leader that wasn't ideal.
Correct.
You know, but I learned a lot from him, because it taught me of when I become a leader someday, how do I want to handle a situation if this comes up or whatnot. So it's great to bring that up, and that's sound advice for anybody in any industry.
And yes,
you know, to learn from them, because you don't want to have, you don't want to take the bad traits or the not so good traits and turn into that person, because then you're like, oh no, because
I had a supervisor who I started off with, and did not like the way they supervised, very nitpicky, micromanaging, and I was like, no, I can't do this. Well, then I moved on, and years went by, was on different shifts, and then came back, and I ended up on their shift again. And I was like, oh my God, this is going to be a terrible 6 months. Like, this is going to be horrible.
And that's not good. You don't want to leave that bad taste in someone's mouth.
Exactly. And then that 6 months that I had them, it was like a complete, they had made a change, or I just became accepting of it. And they taught me so much in the 6 months that I had them.
Awesome.
And I'm like, wow, so people can change. And whether it was because they were brand new or I was just brand new to them, whatever it was, something was different. And I'm like, okay.
That's good. That's really good. Everyone can grow. Everyone can learn something, no matter how old you are, how young you are. You're always going to learn something if you're open and accepting to those changes, which are always going to be benefit to you. So, take that opportunity. And I love the path that you're taking, and where do you see yourself in 5 years?
In 5 years, I plan on still being in the same chair, the same hours that I'm working.
I hope that they update the chairs. There might be some more lumbar support.
There might be.
Because it's going to lose lumbar support. So City of Irving, I know, is a great city that will get you more chairs.
Yes, they will.
Okay. So hopefully in a different chair, but newer.
Yes, in a newer chair. Same shift. I prefer night shift.
You like the nightlife?
I love the nightlife.
Boogie?
Oh, yes. And oddly enough, I have 2 children at home, but I see them more working nights than I do days. Because by the time I would get home, it's time for bed, or they're already in bed. So for me, I get to take them to school in the mornings. I get to, pick them up before I come into work and spend a little bit of time with them, get some homework done, get snacks, and then I'm off to work.
There you go.
So I enjoy nights. And
I like the nights. I like the nights too. That was my place. I was like, oh, that's so nice. I don't know what it is. But you know what? There's to each their own. A lot of people like the days. Some people like it in the mids. Some people like the evenings. I'm like, I was never big on mids, because I'm like, it's like
the whole
big
day.
chunk of your day, especially if you're doing like 11 to 7.
Yep. It's like, okay, so then now I got to go to bed because nothing's open anymore.
Yeah. Or, 11, if you're doing 11 a.m. to 7 p.m. So,
I guess you could still get a few things done.
Yeah.
Go out to dinner.
Yeah.
A late dinner.
You could do that. I mean, but if you're doing 11 p.m. to 7 a.m., that might be
That'd be a little bit harder.
Yeah, that was, I don't know. Depends. How long are your guys' shifts here? Are they
we're 12 hours?
You're 12 hours.
Yeah, so we're 6P to 6A or 6A to 6P.
It's so long.
It's long, but it goes by quickly.
Yeah, that's why you kind of want it to be busy, because then it goes. That's like when I do my 911 booths and stuff. When I do all my little public education stuff out in the community, I like it if there's crowds and it's really busy, because nothing says, oh my gosh, make it stop, than just sitting there and like the event wasn't very popular. Not a lot of people
wasn't publicized.
Yeah, it wasn't marketed very well, and you're just kind of sitting there and you're like, what do I do?
Oh yes.
Because then I find that one person, and bless their heart, I'm just going to talk your ear off, because you're my one or two person.
And that's it. Yeah.
So same thing with dispatch. You're like, that helps it kind of go through.
So we did a career fair at one of the high schools. Well, actually 2 high schools recently, and I attended one of them. And I mean, it's just like they'd come by, and then it's like, oh, la, 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 and they just keep walking. So I'm just kind of standing there like, okay.
I would holler out job security. And benefits right when you start.
Yes. And a lot of people don't realize that you do get your benefits day one. As soon as you start working, your insurance kicks in, and you start accumulating that vacation time and sick time.
Well, it's not like you're ever going to get laid off. You know, I mean,
you would have,
I know, laid off, not fired.
Oh, laid off, no.
Laid off.
You will never be laid off.
You went down a different, and I was like, no, very quickly. No. I was like, no, laid off.
Yes.
Because it's, one, unless people stop breaking the law, so that's not going to happen. That's never going to happen. And 2, if there's another pandemic, you still have a job, because you all had to still come into work and do your thing. You can't do this from home. So yes, to answer a lot of people's questions who message me on our Tarrant County 911 page, no, there is not a remote position available for a 911 dispatcher. You physically have to come in. But that's a good thing. Like, you want to have job security and great benefits and everything. And especially, you have a family, so it's like, that's got to be super helpful.
Oh, yes.
Well, your whole family is all in the same benefits, correct? Are you guys all in the same benefits?
We are, yes.
That's what I thought, yeah. And that's super helpful also. So it's good to be able to know that you have a career that is, that you can always count on. You're always gonna learn something new every day, whether it's a new procedure at work or someone calls you with something you've never heard before.
Yeah, definitely. Yes. Even 12 years of being here, there's things I learn every single day.
Yeah, like you're just like, oh,
I haven't heard that one.
I didn't know that was physically possible, or how did that get in there, or what happened with that, or people get their heads stuck in fences, or it's like
why? But why?
Yeah, like usually children, like how did they get in certain areas and they're just stuck, or and it's amazing. It's so amazing. I appreciate the creativity, but we want to keep people safe.
Yes. Definitely.
Your children haven't done anything on that. Do they learn? You obviously have taught them, because you're in the business, so you obviously go over 911 and what you do, and do you do that kind of thing?
Yeah, so I do that with them. And they're older now. They're 11 and 12. Actually, I'm sorry, they're 12 and 13. About to be 13 and 14. So we've done that. We've, talked about 911, and still to this day, they get it confused. They're like, oh, so you drive around in a police car? No.
Really?
No. Yes. I'm like, I don't drive around in a police car. I was like, I answer the phones.
Yeah.
When people call 911.
Do they know they can text to 911?
Yes, they do.
Okay, good.
And so I tell them to stay off tell them to stay off their phones.
Oh, yeah.
Because, some of these children still, like, oh, you can do this. And it's like, we'll respond to the text. And it's like, we don't get anything back.
Well, that's why I had to do a video. It was a while back. I did a couple of them. And it was like kind of joking, but it was like, one was an explosion, and it said text to 911 does work. You don't need to test it. And then another one was like, there was another one with these text boxes coming up, and it was like, oh, I should test it. And the person on the other says, no, it does work. You don't test it. It's just like calling 911 and hanging up.
Correct.
So just trust us. It works.
It works. It does.
You're fine. Everyone's fine. Everyone can text. Just take our word for it, and you don't have to test it. So yeah, that's a big one. I like to make sure that the kids understand too, especially with a lot of them don't like to call. Do they like to?
They don't like talking on the phone. They like to text. But it's funny because even at my age, very young, I am a texter. I am not a talker. And it's probably because I do this for 12 hours a day.
Oh,
because I sit
true.
here and,
That's true.
constantly talk. All I want to do is text. So, of course, my husband is like, just call me. I don't want to call you. I don't want to talk to you.
I don't want to talk to you. Love
And
you.
it has nothing to do with it that it's him. I'd rather just text it.
Yeah.
And it just, to me, it's easier.
I love you, but I don't want to talk to you right now.
Exactly.
I can text you. We can communicate that way. See, I am, most of the time I'll text or email, but if it's something that, I feel like I need to call, like if I'm changing a rule or I'm doing something, or I need to do something where I feel like, because there's no emotion in texts or emails and stuff. Mm-hmm. So I'm very much like, I hope this doesn't come off really. Not that I'm sending bad emails, but you might be like, hey, the deadline for this, you have to have this done by this time or whatever and everything. I like to sometimes call and just be like, hey, did that, especially if it's one-on-one with an agency or something like, because you see my emails. I feel like they're pretty straightforward.
Yes, they are.
But yeah, I'm a caller. I guess I'm a caller. I guess it depends who it is.
And it might depend on who it depends on who it is as well.
Like if I'm going to have a good giggle or something like that, then
I'm just going to call you.
Then I'm going to call. That's going to be great. Now, if it's, your spouse, significant other and things like that, I call. Even though they likes text. So that's
well, and yes, and
I guess that's where your husband's at.
Yes,
he likes to call. And then
but we also have an age gap between us. He's 12 years older than I am.
Oh, okay.
So he's just call me. I don't want to call you.
So
just text me.
So if he calls you, do you just
I answer?
Oh, you do? I didn't know if you just slide the little phone down and you just,
No, I answer.
Or you're nice and make it sound like it rang a couple times. And then
go to voicemail.
Oh my God.
No, I answer.
I was going to say, because he might hear this podcast. So it might happen. So yeah, I guess I'm a caller. So yeah, I like to call people and stuff. Plus I like to check. I always like to say hi and chat and be like, hey, how's things going? How are you feeling? How are you doing? I haven't seen you forever.
Right.
But now I know that if it goes right to voicemail, then you did that intentional.
Oh, that's Abby.
Oh, hey. And you know what I'll do? I'll leave a message that says, oh, I had a special price for you, this limited edition designed Abby 911 shirt. But now, since you answer your phone,
calling the next person.
Calling the next person. Sorry, toodles. Bye.
Bye.
No. You're like, oh. So, well, Anissa, I really appreciate your time. I loved hearing your journey. A lot of stuff I didn't know. I was like, wow, that's super. That's why I like doing these podcast chats with the supervisors and managers and everything. Because, even though I've been hanging around for almost 7 years, there's a lot of stuff I don't know about y'all. So not only I know, and now everyone out there knows. So that's excellent. So thank you for what you do. Congratulations on all your successes and just celebrating a birthday and
thank you.
Being a mom and doing it all and wearing many ball caps. There's so many men and women in our industry that do that. So it's nice to sit with one that can say, hey, good job. I don't know how you do it because I don't even work shift work and I'm like, my dogs stress me out. But I can put them in like a cage or a room and no one calls a number or anything like that.
Right,
so,
right.
No one's doing check well-being on my Stevie Nicks dog. So yes, her name is Stevie Nicks. So anyway, thank you so much for your time. Thank you everyone who's listened. Join us next week for a whole new podcast where we speak to another 911 leader in our Tarrant County 911 district area. And until next time, have a fabulous week.